Hello everybody, Watkins Glen is back this week with Gr4 cars. This track is quickly becoming one of my favorites. There's usually good racing here. Before we start, make sure to stick around to the end and see how I managed to get a 3-second track limits penalty. You heard that right. Alright, turn 1. My brake marker in the WRX is the height change in the Armco barrier. It's about halfway between the 300 and 200 boards if you need that secondary visual help to spot it. Trail braking into the turn, accelerating off the apex, and you can use all of this ridiculously wide curb on exit. Then stay full throttle through the S's. I've begun to stay off the curbs through here as much as possible. To me, it feels like the power gets put down a little smoother and it takes full advantage of the natural camber in the road. Then into 6th gear. I don't really like to let 5th gear rev out down the straight. Braking for the chicane is done right around the 300 board. For this, I'll slow down the video to talk through it. Normal braking and turn into start. Once I'm near the first right apex and lined up to straight line the first leg, I briefly apply power as I unwind the steering. Near the first left apex, off the power and turn in. Lifting helps rotate the car and keeps a tighter line into the second left. I'm a touch wider than I'd like during a race, but this is still an acceptable line. It just means I don't straight line the second leg as much as I'd prefer. As I near the second left apex, back on the power, over the curb on the second right apex. If I've done this how I intend, I should enter the sweeping right-hander in the middle of the track. No need to brake, just lift at the start of this curb, coasting until you reach the piece of tarmac on the right, then begin applying power. Move to the right side for turn 6. My marker here is the 200 board. A later apex works better for the next couple of turns. I dropped a third, and as this marshal post comes into view, roll back onto the throttle. That all-wheel drive pulls you around nicely. Use the curb without running wide, then to the left side where you'll brake, either just after the 200 board or just before the last add board on the right. The signs on the right, they are a bit easier to pick up in traffic. Again, a later apex here. Off in the distance, I don't know what this is, either a vehicle or a small building. Once it approaches center of view, that's my cue to get on the throttle. The next braking point is just after the 200 board. Careful you don't turn in too soon here. You might not crash, but you'll compromise your exit and either get track limits or leave yourself vulnerable to an overtake at the hairpin. For that hairpin, braking just before the 100 board. Once again, try for a later apex, but don't go too deep. Many drivers will see that gap and they'll take it as an invitation to jump right underneath you. Second to last corner, no braking, just lift before the 100 board. You may not even need to lift all the way. I'm still around 50% throttle actually. For the last corner, brake as the end of the building hits the edge of your screen. Make sure you get all the way down to the apex for this corner as well. 90 miles per hour is my target to get a good run down the main straight. You shouldn't have to dip much below that in the Subaru. Thanks for sticking around. As promised, let's take a look at my 3-second track limits penalty, which would occur on the very next lap. Now, I didn't think this was egregious curb cutting, but the penalty hits before I'm even out of the chicane. I'll replay that in slow motion. My guess is that it was both of the first 2 curbs combined. Let me know what you think in the comments. I've had 1-second track limit penalties before. That's the first time I've gotten 3 seconds. I promise, I'm not bitter at all. Thanks for watching.